to start with Dr. Ted Buckley, who's the chief economist for Bloomberg Government. Ted leads the analytics team at Bloomberg Government, which conducts research to analyze the impact of government actions, whether through regulation or legislation, on the industry. Prior to joining Bloomberg Government, Dr. Buckley was the director of economic policy at BIO, the National Trade Association, and previously worked at McKinsey & Company. So, Dr. Buckley, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. I'm now with Bloomberg Government. It's great to be up here with some of my colleagues from Bloomberg Government, but it's also so nice to see so many of my old colleagues from bio and from the biotech community. I'm going to just talk a little bit briefly about biosimilars because I've heard that that might be of some interest to y'all. Just to set the stage of where we've been and where we're going, the CBO, when they predicted the uptake of biosimilars, they suggested that 10% penetration in the first year, up to about 35% penetration, market erosion in the fourth year. I recently, or last July, released a paper that using IMS data that showed the European experience. And frankly, I was shocked. The biosimilar version of Epogen in Germany, after 2 years, had taken 58% of the market away from the brand name drug. This is akin to the generic penetration rates in Germany. Similarly, in Germany, after 1 year of being on the market, the biosimilar version of Neupogen had taken 28% of the market share away. Fast forward to March, this past March, when the Affordable Care Act came into law. It was largely at the FDA's discretion as to how many, or the extent of preclinical and clinical trials would be required for a biosimilar application. Since that time, in late November, FDA had a meeting where they gave stakeholders the opportunity to speak and also answer some questions that they had put forward to the community. FDA is currently compiling those comments, and sometime, probably 2011, we'll have some guidance or rules for how the FDA might want to proceed forward. Now, the controversy. I honestly, when the law was passed, I thought it was all very clear, which shows you how much of a lawyer I am. I'm not a lawyer. Teva, Hospira.
I am, and I thought it was clear too.
Teva, Hospira, and Sandoz have each indicated that they may or may not take advantage of the biosimilar pathway, that they may in fact use the traditional BLA pathway. What this would do, at least from my understanding, is it would give them each 12 years of exclusivity for a full BLA. And I think further, and what would be interesting to find out is, would they have their own Medicare Part B J code? And would their ASP plus pricing be independent of what some would see the reference molecule? And this introduces all sorts of interesting pricing dynamics that will the newer version, or what some would say the biosimilar version of an EPA or Neupogen, actually be priced higher, because it then gives the doctors an incentive to prescribe that rather than the original one. Speculation at this point, but economists like to think in terms of incentives. Now, recently, if anybody's read the Wall Street Journal, there seems to be this slight controversy over the 12 years of exclusivity and what is meant by that. I think the understanding, at least my understanding, was that after 4 years, a company could put out their application for an abbreviated BLA, and then after 12 years, the FDA could after the 12-year data exclusivity period was up, the FDA could approve it. Now there seems to be some question as to how to interpret the statute and whether or not the 12 years is actually meant as data exclusivity, which some are interpreting to say that the FDA could not look at the application until after the 12 years is up. I've not talked to the generics about it. I've not talked to the innovator companies about it. I've only read what's been written in the Wall Street Journal, so I can't comment further than that. So where are we now? Let's see, the FDA has to decide what's going to be part of a BLA, or what's going to be part of an abbreviated BLA. they have to figure out when Teva or Cuspia or Sandoz or some other company comes and submits what they say is a full BLA, whether or not it's an abbreviated BLA, and how they're going to take advantage of that. And then we've got to figure out how the FDA is in fact going to interpret the 12 years that are in the law. So basically everything in many ways is back to where we were before the law was passed. So thank you.